But that kind of moves us on nicely to the January transfer window when they do finally sort of sit down to talk about this on Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever they can be asked. I kind of like to think how the discussions might go. There's been a bit of business done this week with Ronnie Edwards, obviously heading off on loan to QPR for the rest of the season. Sounds like Brereton Diaz as well might be off to Sheffield United. Yeah. What do you? I know they're third in the table, right? And they scored 36 goals. What do they need with him? I mean, I'm not complaining. Like, off you go.
Have you seen Burnley a second? Burnley have conceded 9 goals all season.
What?
Burnley have conceded 9 goals in the league all season.
Oh my word! 26 games they've conceded 9 goals.
I've not
even seen that. That's incredible.
But they are also mind-numbingly dull to watch. They are peak Scott Parker.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
There are a lot of. I mean, but that Burnley fan base is very split in terms of whether you kind of just take the result. Result is everything, because so many of their games are so bad.
Yeah, I think I know what Alan Pace will go for. I don't think he's asked about the quality of football. That's a remarkable record.
So what are we expecting for January? I know we kind of mentioned a few things around this last week. Steve, for you, is it all about just the outgoings, really, and maybe a couple of signings for the future?
I mean, I don't know who you're going to be able to really bring in if you're looking beyond the next 6 months, really, because who's going to sign for you? Given what we've kind of got in store for the next 5 or 6 months, it's just going to be a period of misery. So nobody's going to come in who's got any sort of real ambition about themselves, I don't think, unless you're talking about someone who might be able to put themselves in the shop window on loan for maybe something a little bit better. I mean, maybe there's a big centre forward out there who is a little bit more mobile than Mr. Onuachu, and we can finally get away with do away with this bizarre sort of sarcastic hero worshipping of him. Can we just accept he's not very good now, please?
Yeah, I apologise for my part in that. I got hooked by the step overs and whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean there was a bit of that again yesterday, wasn't there? There were a couple of little moments which were basically the only moments of excitement in the whole game, really, from a Saints perspective. But when you're doing those on the halfway line, it's completely meaningless. I saw Sulemana did a little drag back and flick to pass the ball 5 yards to Carl Walker-Peters. It's like, well, I mean, what are you doing? Are you playing 5-a-side down goals or what? It's just infuriating. So I think, I mean, if you can get a shot of those two, then you're, for any sort of money, then I think you're laughing, aren't you? Get just a bit of a cleaning of house, really. Do
you sell Carl Walker-Peters and claim 5, 6, 7 million?
Who's paying money for him?
Well, very true.
Nobody. His performances haven't been standout, I wouldn't say.
Let's say you did get an offer. Then you got a £5 million offer for Carl Peters. Would you take it?
Oh yeah, take it. Yeah. We've got 4 right backs.
Yeah, and it's not going to affect the outcome of the season, is it? So
no,
and we've now got 2 left backs. So it's
that's my kind of thinking. I'm on the same page as you are. I do think that just like anybody who you don't want next season or isn't going to be here next season, you can get rid of. You might as well do it and just get the money in now and save the wages. They're going to bring in an 18-year-old French centre back called Joachim K. Sander from Valenciennes. He plays every game for the French under-19s and plays every game for the senior team in the French third division. I believe he's going to be sort of playing with them in 21s, but training with the first team. So sort of on that precipice again, and like a bit like Sam Amo. It's one for the future. And Wellington's obviously officially joined now as well. And Wellington, I think he's injured at the moment.
Isn't this French kid just look at us and our clever multi-club model?
Possibly, but I mean, the Twitter tacticos who know more than I do, they do think he's genuinely quite good. He's a French youth international captain. He captains the French under-19s. He plays every week in the men's division at the age of 18, centre back. So he might be good.
Can he play up front? That's the only question I've got. I mean, the other thing, I've been asked this a couple of times about Shay Charles.
Should we bring him back?
And
I don't see the point of destroying him. for 6 months.
Well, no, for his development, we shouldn't bring him back.
Hmm.
We should not. We should leave him where he is. But
So
if
of
we
course we'll
can't,
bring him back.
well, we need players in the centre of midfield. Let's face
That
it.
is a fair point.
So if we're not going to be able to sign someone, then we probably should look at bringing him back. And someone made a very good point to me that he could be this season's Nathan Teller. Do you remember when we got relegated last time? Nathan Teller was out on loan at the Championship, and then we lost him because he suddenly fancied himself as a Premier League player when the club had just got relegated, and obviously went to Germany. Shay Charles occasionally gets linked with the likes of West Ham. And there are teams sniffing around him, so I could possibly see him going if we end up in the Championship, which would be a shame because I think he'd obviously be a very good player there next year. But there is a danger, so I think we do have to look at that. But whether preventing him going would be best served by bringing him back to play in this abysmal end of season.
I think you'd more like to get rid of him then. Though he'll be desperate to leave, wouldn't he? He has to play with this team for 6 months. So
I'd love to know. I know you mentioned like Carl Walker-Peters, but I'd love to like get into his head and think where he sees himself going.
Well, he will get. Clearly, he's still here because like in 2 summer windows, proper interest in him has not materialised. I know West Ham were interested last window, but when they went down to the Championship, they didn't get an offer for him. So no club really sees him as that 15, 20 million pound player. But ultimately, if you can get him on a free, there'll be a lot of clubs interested, in my opinion. In a backup right back as good as him, I think that.
Leicester was another one mentioned this. I wonder whether he might just be like have his heart set on going abroad, perhaps.
I think he'll end up at Palace.
Palace always seems like a natural fit because the way they play in South London and whatnot, it always seems like a natural fit. Yeah.
A few comments about Ross Stewart. I kind of feel like it's not worth talking about him.
Just think he's injured. I should say about Wellington. I said Wellington's injured. He got a hamstring injury in October, so he's on the way back now, but he's still training away from the team. So he's not like 6 months injured like Ross Stewart signing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ross. I think Ross is just still injured. To be honest, I just think he's just not going to be ready to play football for a long time.
Well, he had a break that he had a sort of setback again, didn't he? So after the Arsenal game, was it when he got injured? He was supposed to be sort of, I don't think they put a time on it, but then he gave there was an update given about him and the other guy who's injured all the time, I've forgotten, Larios, about they both picked up new injuries or recovery injuries or whatever they call them, and they were. I mean, we're not going to see either of them this season. Let's face it. So, it's just grim times, and I mean, all that the new manager has mentioned. I mean, it might be lost in translation a little bit, but it seems like they're only really concerned with outgoings.
Yeah.
So it does make you slightly apprehensive about finances. And it also is going to shine a light on, you're getting rid of Brereton Diaz, who you only signed 5 months ago. It'd be interesting to see who else goes, because I mean I read one story about Charlie Taylor maybe going. So that's the second player who you only signed 3 or 4 months ago.
Well, I think the general baseline is if you get relegated from the Premier League to the Championship, you kind of need to make like 100 million revenue, or you're going to lose 100 million in revenue, and you will try and make as much of that back as possible. So, like, I think, departures are inevitable. Like, if they can't sell Bella Kotchap, Kamaldeen, Paul Onuachu, then it's going to be Harwood-Bellis, obviously Matty, the guys that we talked about.
Harwood-Bellis?
Well, that's exactly it. No one's going to pay 20 million quid for him. But
the one good thing about Flynn Downs having shown that he hasn't made the step up at all this season is that nobody's going to want to buy him next summer. So he'll be the key man in our midfield again next season in the Championship, and he will dominate it like he did last season.
Don't you think though that a lot of the issues we've got is that we're expecting Downs and Harwood-Bellis, for example, to step in and be the main man at Premier League level. Whereas if you go back to our team in 2016, when we were decent in this league, we had some very, very good players, some real sort of violinists, if you like, Pella, Tadic, Mane. And then we had the road sweepers like Shane Long, for example, who were good in that context of that team because they had better players around them. But as soon as you expect as soon as those guys left and Shane Long had to be the main man, he just wasn't good enough. And I feel that with Downs and Harwood-Bellis, if they stepped into, this is Steve's point from earlier, if they stepped into a half capable team that had some very good players in it, they would probably play at a higher level. But they're not. It's unrealistic to expect players to step into their first Premier League season and dominate and be, at a level where they can bring the 9 average players along with them, sort of thing. So we don't sign the marquee players anymore. We don't sign the players like we signed Virgil van Dijk, for example. We don't sign players of that sort of level anymore who could go on to be world class. If you look at that team, it's just crazy when you look at it. The players that went through it, like Toby Alderweireld, Sadio Mane, Virgil van Dijk, Graziano Pella, Dusan Tadic, Morgan Schneiderlin, Victor Wanyama. They all went through and went on to bigger clubs, and then your players who are not quite of that level, like Shane Long, Cedric Suarez, can be part of a functioning team. But we don't sign the good players anymore. We signed Aaron Ramsdale. I'll give them that. But
But Glenn, look at the Bournemouth signings every year. They're not the marquee signings. They shop in the Championship pretty often. They bring in 21-year-olds from Juventus, Dean Hulson, who's just unbelievable. I mean, he's 6'5", he play like a striker, so he is going to be good at centre back. But they shop in the Championship. They bring in the 15 to 25 million pound Moneyball players, and they've made it work. And to be fair, Brentford do similar. I know they spent a bit more with the Tony money and whatnot. So teams can do it, but I just wonder. We've said before on the pod, like, is it a point now where you just sort of hope that you yo-yo until you have one lucky window where you strike 3 or 4 correct, and then you stay up and then you push on. But that is a dangerous game to play.
But we are relying on
at least one established Premier League team having a shocker, like the 3 of us did 2 years ago.
Yeah. I feel better for getting some of that off my chest. I've got to be honest, and I hope you do as well.